Good evening, folks. It's Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project, bringing you a grand solar minimum update on Monday, February 12th, 10:33 p.m. Mountain Time 2018. You're looking at the Northern Hemisphere GFS model for temperatures over the next 15 days. I want you to take a note of the magenta. It's minus 40 degrees. And this rotational area here in North America, it would be the polar vortex spinning about. Let's just pause it, and I want to bring you. So notice up in the Arctic here, this is the Arctic Sea, where the Arctic ice is completely covering it, and the temperature's around minus 20, minus 15 to minus 30 in that area. But if we go while it's minus 40 over Hudson Bay, building the ice. But if we move it all the way towards spring here into March, I want you to see how cold it gets over the Arctic there. The entire Arctic Ocean is covered with over minus 30 degrees. Probably more like minus 35 with a little minus 40. So that's moving into March, what's happening up in the Arctic. And that's a boom. Real quick look at North America. This is the video I put up today. The snow falling. There it is right here, the pink and white. It's where I am. And this is the forecast for the next 24 hours. So the only snow is in southern Utah, southern Colorado, and the Rockies here. A little bit into Arizona here, northern Arizona. We got a little bit of snow here in southern Ohio also today, and up in Canada in this area. Also up in Alberta, there's some snow here in British Columbia. But if we come look at the next 48 hours, we're going to have more snow continuing throughout the Rockies in big ways. We need it. And heavy snows falling up in British Columbia, Alberta, northern Idaho, western Montana. Looks like Washington and Oregon are going to get hit with at least 12 or more inches of snow. And probably 7 states there, including 2 provinces up there in Canada. So that's a boom. It's a heads up, Canada. On the East Coast is going to be moderating there, above average during the next 48 hours. So it'll be raining there. Wind, ice, and bitter cold are making South Korea's Winter Olympics a little too wintry. Pyeongchang, the Winter Olympics, we've been covering this. Everything's being canceled. It is just so cold. Low temperatures have hovered in the single digits, dipping below 0 Fahrenheit with unforgiving gusts of 45-mile-an-hour winds, making it feel much colder. The Raw Air sent hundreds of fans to the exit Sunday when qualifying was called off after women's slopestyle devolved into a mess of mistakes, and Monday's final started 75 minutes late. Of the 50 runs, 41 ended with a fall or a rider essentially giving up. Sounds awesome. Freezing cold and people giving up. Sounds like the Olympics. Extremely dangerous Category 4 tropical cyclone Gita slams into Tonga. Thank you, watchers. Excellent coverage here. Tropical storm Gita passed near Samoa and American Samoa on February 10th and 11th, dropping heavy rain, totally fluxing this area, causing flooding, widespread damage. Sustained winds of 231 kilometers per hour, 144 miles per hour, and gusts to 173 miles per hour, leaving the entire main island of Tungatupu without power. The cyclone will enter Fijian territory today, passing the southern Lao group on Tuesday, February 13th, possibly strengthening to Cat 5. The Tongan government declared a state of emergency Monday morning, urging its 100,000 inhabitants to prepare for an extremely dangerous cyclone. Since Tonga has never been hit by a Cat 5, and because it is unclear whether Gita will reach that cat before Tonga, their authorities describe it as possibly the strongest cyclone ever to hit the island kingdom and ask residents to stay indoors. or get out of Dodge. This baby. Look at this baby. Look at those little islands compared to, and there's the eye wall, and that's the heaviest wind bands on our side. Damn. Oh dear. So, that's a heads up for Tonga. I'll leave you links to all these things. So, heads up to the UK. Ayrshire warned to brace for 15 centimeters of snowfall. The Met Office has issued a yellow warning on those out and about. Weather forecast. Spells of rain and snow. After heavy rain hit snow in many parts of Ayrshire last night, weather chiefs are warning people to brace themselves for more. Strong rain and snow is expected with up to 15 centimeters set to fall. Met Office Chief Forecaster assessment, a band of heavy rain will spread eastward during Tuesday morning and early afternoon, quickly turning to snow on high-level routes above 200 meters and to lower levels for a time before it clears. And that is a big up to the Queen Mother. U.S. Florida orange crop estimates continue to fall. While production forecasts most Florida citrus fruit categories have remained stable in the February update for the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the orange estimates has continued its downward path. The latest report pegs the orange crop at 45 million boxes, 2% down the January estimate, 35% lower than the last season. It was like an explosion, Western France shaken by a 4.8 magnitude earthquake. That would be a nuclear bomb if it was an explosion, let me tell you. And thanks to the downgrade service here called the U.S. Geological Survey says, that is not science. That is obfuscation from the truth. There are no earthquakes being reported at all in anywhere in Europe over the last 7 days. I already looked. You can double check. We have some aftershocks in the Marianas area. The only quake of note is a 5.6 in Bamboo Flat, India. And relatively quiet, and we'll be waiting on an uptick. It was an explosion in Western France, shaking 4.8 magnitude. Look at that. There's even a green area of the shake and a yellow. Residents of Western France were given a fairly rude awakening at 4 a.m. Monday morning when they were shaken from their sleep by a 4.8 magnitude earthquake that the USGS doesn't even know about. Huh. Those guys, they went to college. The epicenter of the tremor, which didn't cause any injuries or fatalities, thankfully, was reported to have been close to the town of Saint-Hilaire-des-Voies in Vendée, department of Western France, which stands close to the department of Ayrshire. And that is a boom for France. Sorry, France. Sorry, USGS. Is a mini ice age on the way? Oh, well, if you watch our channel, the Grand Solar Minimum is coming, and Uprocks is going to explain it for you here. This is coming out today. As the narrative changes in the mainstream, you are now being exposed to the word mini ice age to hit Earth. It's going to hit us. It's coming from space. They're right there. As the sun is to be unusually cool. How unusual. The sun is unusually cool. But science. So just like all other media outlet puppets, they're all cut and pasting the 50-year duration. You might be thinking, wait, it can't be right, but it's true. That's what it says right here, folks. The sun is getting a little bit cooler, and it's likely to be cooler for a while. But it's neither a get out of climate change free card because global warming is still going to kill us. I doubt it. And if you look at the projections here, here's 50 years and it continues to decline. And this is the CMIP6 model, which is not accurate. It's only adding a little effects. This is still considering CO2 as a warming mechanism. That's how far behind we are. So it's going to get cold for a little bit, but global warming's going to save us, y'all. And that's a heads up. Scientists say some will be cooler by 2050. This is CBS Dallas Fort Worth. And they warn of a mini ice age, 7% cooler. They're making videos. All of the major media outlets are making videos on the mini ice age so that we can perform better climate models and have better idea how change in the sun affects the climate. So they're covering their buttocks right here. And that is a glorious heads up because we know the truth. Will solar cooling solve Earth's problem of global warming? Well, of course it is, because global warming wasn't a problem. It was a natural cycle. Part of natural climate variability that the Earth experiences in a 200, 400 year cyclicity with smaller 160-year cycles embedded due to multi-decadal oscillations in the flow of oceans. And these major spikes are because of cosmic ray flux periods and major solar outburst periods. Solar outbursts at the peaks, cosmic ray flux at the valleys. We're going into a high cosmic ray flux period, which will cause a major valley. Going down. Global warming is not going to save us because it's part of a natural cycle. They use the natural cycle to scare the public and tax them. And now they have to change the story because we're falling off a cliff into the grand solar minimum, which everyone's picking up. They love it. It must get them clicks. They're making videos. Now let's, at the same time today, all media outlets are still holding on to global warming because global sea level rise is rapidly rising. The rate, the speed, its satellite data is in. Man, and it confirms that the oceans are rising. It's catastrophic. All major cities are going to be underwater momentarily, maybe tomorrow morning. This is from CNN today. Satellite observations show sea levels rising and climate change is accelerating it. Like a Lamborghini. Look at that. That's calving ice. That means glaciers are growing. These people never Google or fact check anything. Someone sent me pictures of calving glaciers and said, how do you explain that? And I sent them a chapter of a book on glacial growth that says, as glaciers grow, they calve. Let's check sea level. Let's check the catastrophic sea level rise that's been happening. There is none. In fact, let's reset this. Do you see this plateau that's happened for the past 3 years? And this is on satellite data. This is the satellite data. It's so difficult to use this website because they don't want you to look at this truth here. They don't want you to grab it. There it is. So here is the last 2 years of sea level. Here's a high point, 84.7 millimeters. And if you notice, that's exactly where it is today. Back in March of 2016. Here's March of 2017. It was lower. That was a catastrophic year of sea level rise last year. And you can see we're falling off here into the fall, and sea level has been falling off till then. So sea level is lower than it was 2 years ago. According to NASA's Global Climate Change Vital Signs of the Planet portal. Now let's get to some real science, because that's what we do here. And that's a boom. Excellent papers for you. This needs to be spread around the community and share with all your friends. This is coming from James Maruse. This is published back in June of 2009, called the Solar Grand Minima Threat Analysis. This has more information and links than you can ever imagine. And it's a grand solar minimum threat analysis about what is going to happen to humanity based on historical documents and all the known science. Talks about Black Death, plague, casual relationships, malaria, ice ages. Boom! Get on it, folks. It's getting better. It's going to get better. I promise it's going to get even better. Thank you, James. Solar Grand Minima Preparedness Plan, i.e. Little Ice Age Preparedness Plan by James. This is all you need. It has every single piece of fact and documentation and historical weather phenomena that will occur and can occur, and what you need to do to prepare. Bulleted list, grains, famines, buckets, canning, long term, everything. You're welcome. How to heat your house. Look at the list of survival information you are going to get to survive and thrive in the coming times. I'm still scrolling. Look at these pictures. Greater snow accumulations, how to survive. Studded tires may be in effect. Large hailstones, how to live. Heavy winds. This preparedness plan is the most comprehensive thing I have ever uncovered in my entire history of studying this topic. Thank you, James. And you guys are going to get it because mankind has been down this road before, as we will go down this road again, and we will survive. The last time we faced this type of disaster was over 300 years ago. And as a result, it has almost been erased from our collective memory. But thanks to channels like the Oppenheimer Ranch Project, Adapt 2030, Ice Age Farmer, Suspicious Observers, and others, eyes are opening and the information is getting out there. And it's up to you to print this out and share this in mass to people that you love. I'll leave you links down below. Also, this paper, Sunspot Cycles in Grand Minima, to get you familiar with what we're talking about. If you still are thirsting for knowledge on the topic here, the general form of record of solar activity. The abstract is observational data concerning the long-term history of cyclic solar activity as recorded in sunspots, and isotopic data are discussed in this paper, and I will leave you links to it. Whew. Man, that is a science boom. My head is going to explode. So much happening in this update. Regional climate impacts of a possible future Grand Minima. Another paper I'll leave you. It has good graphs for people who don't like to read on solar forcing scenarios that they use, and then paleoclimatological models and analysis on temperature changes that have occurred and will occur, and these are additional frost days as we move forward. Notice where they're located here in the glacial zone, Great Lakes Northeast. You're looking at 2.5 to 3.5 more frost days moving forward. Heavily frosted here in the Baltics, UK, not looking good. Look at this blue zone up here. But again, in another model run, here are the blue zones, UK, Northern Europe, the Baltics, etc. And here, looking pretty cold in the Washington, D.C. through Tennessee, mid-Atlantic region. So this is a nice paper to get you familiar with some of the modeling scenarios. The only unfortunate thing about this paper is the only way they could get funded back here when they wrote it back in 2014 was to use global warming. So all the global warming is going to outlast everything and beat everything. So all the models have to go straight up, which is total nonsense. Here's the grand solar minimum blip, right? Like right here. Blip, and here, blip. That's nonsense. You're well aware of the prediction. The prediction is if you're not prepared in 10 years, you're not going to be able to prepare. The problem is that in about 5 years, if we start to have some solar activity, grid failure and global unrest will occur. So if you're not prepared in 5 years and that happens, that's a heads up too. And if a volcano goes off at any time in the next 5 years, at VEI 6 or 7, the game is over, folks. He's a good primer for what will happen and what is going to happen in mass globally is happening right now in Venezuela. Mad Max violence stalks Venezuela's lawless roads, hijackings at gunpoint for food and supplies. La Grita, Venezuela. It's midnight and one of the most dangerous roads in Latin American Venezuela trucker Humberto Aguilar hurtles through the darkness with 20 tons of vegetables freshly harvested from the Andes. But it is a death ride because there are gunmen on bikes, and that is a blurry picture of gunmen on bikes. This guy has a broken windshield, and nobody looks like they're stealing anything here. See, the video is currently unavailable. So that's a heads up. Global unrest in Venezuela. I'm sure you saw it coming out from David Dubine today. Let's talk about the show this Friday live from the Crown Plaza at Observing the Frontier Conference in New Mexico. In Albuquerque, we'll be live. Freedomizer Radio. Clarity in the Dark is the show with Scarlet Anonymous and co-host Red Gypsy. They're the time zones, 9 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Mountain, 12 a.m. Eastern. And we'll be going for 3 hours. So join us. Let's talk about an update from Revolution Radio. Big update. I had a meeting with the producers, and we procured the slot. Oppenheimer Ranch is now on Revolution Radio, and we will be doing, that's our slot. See where it says reserve there, guys? That is our show. Here's David Dubine's show, and here's our show. We're right the day before. That's going to be us, and we need to name the show. David Dubine's doing mini Ice Age conversations. What is the name of our show? The first podcast is going to be February 28th, and we need a name in 3 days. So in the comment section, guys, name the show. I want you subscribers to name the show. What's the name of the show? Is it the Grand Solar Mini Boom show? What's the name of the show? So that's up to you to name the show. I'll pick the best one and we'll roll with it. So name the show. It's going to be a 2-hour podcast where we discuss the science about the oncoming Grand Solar Minimum, the solar dynamics, the geology, the sociology, global unrest, the preparedness, what may happen, scenarios, how you can prepare alternative energy, growing food, geothermal energy. The list of topics are endless. So let's think about it. What is the name of the show? And let's be famous. And let's do this together, guys. And if you want to come on the show because you're a specialist in something, contact me. You're coming on the 28th. Let's make it a party and let's do it together. So let's name the show that we just got. Thank you, Revolution Radio, for hooking us up. You guys are awesome, and we're now part of the party over here. So let's make it happen. And that's a heads up. Before we leave, let's talk about some awesome stuff that we could be doing. This is the kind of stuff you can be building. You can produce thousands of pounds of food in here. There could be massive hail smashing down on the roof and shedding off. You could collect it in piles in the back and then water your vegetables with it. You could also live in the back of this structure or be growing fungus and mushrooms back here. Like Ice Age Farmer had a show today on how to seed logs using plugs. It's simple. They cost like $8.95 on eBay to get a bag of plugs. You could be plugging your logs now for prepping for the Grand Solar Minimum in your own structure like this. You could have geotubes underneath, and you could be heating it, just like we're doing here at the ranch. So we're going to be supplying plans to all our Patreons to our geothermal greenhouse design, so you know how to capture heat in your greenhouse and store it in the ground so that it leaks back up at night. It can keep your vegetables and your crops warm, as well as you and your family. If you make a living structure back here, that's called the biodome or biostructure, where you're living, where you're eating. It's amazing. And you could have fish in here, and the possibilities are endless. So start thinking outside the box. Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. Where we're headed, the prediction is in chartreuse, which is a really good color of a wiggler if you're fishing for white bass. And that's a boom. Guys, share this with like-minded people. I want to thank all of our supporters. You know who you are. You're keeping us going. This is a lot of work, and it's worth it. Be safe.